This is Men's Sacred Liberation Podcast, a place for the men of Charlotte to share their honest experiences about life. Welcome to another episode of Men's Sacred Liberation Podcast. My name is Brian Straheen, and I'm a clinical mental health therapist in Charlotte, where I focus on men through the lens of holistic health and wellness. And I am beyond ecstatic to have a dear friend of mine, Rachel Dahlstrand Behn, visiting us today on the episode. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. We've been talking about this for a while.
We have been talking about this, and I love men's liberation so much. I have 2 boys myself, so my mission is to raise good boys, and I love that you take care of men in this community in our world.
Thank you. And we are saving a seat at the table for them when they're ready to join us.
Can I sign them up now? 3 and 5.
It's making me
okay?
think we need to create a Men's Sacred Liberation junior camp or junior retreat. So we can talk about that later. Let's get right into it. And typically people who watch want to know, how did Brian meet this person on the show? And I was thinking about this and we were chatting about it, and it really comes down to, which I share about and talk about a lot with clients and with men at the retreats, it came down to my values. If I really bring it back to the root of how we met, it's my value related to learning different ways to move in my body. And we have a mutual friend who has attended your classes. You teach yoga in town and do other things, which we'll get into, and specifically a Bodhi Love class. And I was watching this person post videos of him at these classes, and I thought, I don't know what's going on there, but I want to be a part of that. And I happen to know this person through the yoga community, so I sent him a private message and said, I don't know where you are in these videos, but I want to go with you. And so they invited me to your class. That was a while ago, and
I don't know, maybe honestly 4 years ago?
It must have been.
Yeah, it's been a while ago.
Pre-COVID.
And can I tell you why I connected with you after class?
The eye contact.
Yes. You are I've never met anyone like you with your eye contact. Like I've never met someone who pays attention more when someone's talking. It's almost like you're looking into someone's soul and reading their energy and listening to what they're saying at the same time and just absorbing it all. Am I right?
You're right. And there's been this connection between the two of us, and I think that pull has brought us into this friendship that has helped. That desire for depth in connection is something that I think we both share and value. I'm going to keep coming back to this word value. And so I would like to dig in a little bit more and get deep into how you got to this place. I see it's on your shirt. How did you get to this place where you're leading these massive Bodhi Love events? If you could go back to the root of how this all started and how you got to leading these massive movement practices and events.
Sure. So I moved to Charlotte about 10 years ago from Pennsylvania. I went to school to be an elementary school teacher, and I played soccer in college. I graduated. There was no jobs up north, so I also was like, why do I live in this snow tundra? So I was like, get me out of here. Erie, Pennsylvania is where I'm from, so similar weather to Buffalo. That's super famous. But I moved down here, lived on my friend's couch for 2 weeks, started my new job. I was teaching elementary special ed. So I worked in CMS for 10 years. I started feeling an itch for that soccer piece that I had, that identity of not only being a student, but also an athlete. So I started getting into coaching spaces. I was nannying a little bit on the side. I started coaching soccer. And that kind of led to getting my personal training and teaching boot camps, teaching personal training clients. And then I had taken a bunch of yoga classes and just really gotten into the spiritual space. I had never felt in my body what I felt when I took a yoga class. the breath, the movement, the music, the connection to my soul. I always just was moving in ways that were uh, not necessarily soul connecting, if that made sense. Like my soccer workouts were, and I've talked about this at your men's liberation retreat when I was there, everything I was doing was very masculine movements. I
Mm.
was always working hard. You got to burn this many calories. You have to run the fastest time, lift the heaviest. And so it felt so liberating to move in ways that were just, connecting with my breath, to relax, to restore, listen to my body, take breaks. And it felt so good. So that made me get my yoga teacher training.
Hmm.
Um, and you can stop me if you want me to elaborate in any ways, but
Well, I wanna make sure that we follow this train of thought of values,
yeah.
because that's really the root of this for me, and what I
Mhm.
realize is the motivating factor for how we move about the world. If you value something and you're aware of it, you're more than likely gonna want to go in that direction and do
Mhm.
more of that.
Right.
I hopefully.
Yes.
And what I'm hearing, and I'm realizing all the similarities coming back up again about what has connected us, having grown up in Cleveland with a lot of snow. I played college football, so we've learned how to move in our bodies in specific ways.
Mhm.
And we have this connection of both being yoga teachers and realizing there's other ways to be in our bodies
Yes.
that helps us to feel a different way,
Yes.
maybe more liberated and alive. Not to say that playing college sports doesn't make us feel this way.
Mhm.
So, am I right in hearing that you've really valued moving in your body in specific
Mhm.
ways and also learning different ways to be embodied,
Yes.
specifically through yoga?
Mhm.
And I would imagine that playing a team sport,
Mhm.
there was some appreciation that you learned to have by being embodied with a group.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was really important to you.
Yes. I really value my time as a college athlete, and there's so much good that comes out of it. I learned so many things. Honestly, my mindset is like steel from things that I've had
Mm,
to do in college sports. And you make me go into that when we do our community ice baths with Men's Liberation.
yep, you were there for that.
I sure was. Um, but yeah, mindset, community, working on one thing together to really just grow. In my case, it was win a game, but it felt good in yoga to um, honestly, there was no winning or losing. It
Mm,
was just about myself. So I love the team community aspect, but I also liked in yoga that I could just turn into myself and really just take whatever I needed and move in those ways. Um, so as I got into yoga, I was working with women personal training at the same time. I started to notice how many people did not like themselves. So like when they'd
mm.
want to work with me, whether it was to get stronger or lose weight or whatever they were doing, it felt honestly sad to me like how many people were just like I'm so fat, I don't like myself. I and that just really connected with me, and so
Did you relate to that? Had you been in that
I
mindset space
related.
before?
I've been in that mindset space as a woman, growing up with magazines with people that were this big, and I was an athlete and had muscle. I was 5'10". I was just, there were times I was like, I don't like being this tall, or I don't like being this muscular, or it just wasn't necessarily in the times that I was growing up. So I was seeing. And I feel like we do a lot better job in the world now of showing all different bodies and colors and hair and everything. But when
Mm,
I was growing up, it was not like that. So I did connect with the women on that. Just, there were times when I didn't like myself and my body.
mm.
And I don't feel that way anymore. Like, I'm a
D
yoga teacher, I have cellulite, I have C-section scar, I have loose skin.
mm.
Sometimes I'm bloated, sometimes I'm not, sometimes I have abs, sometimes it just depends on the day. So really, I think that's where my drive started was I felt in my heart, and I feel like I'm getting kind of emotional just even talking about it. Like my voice is shaking because I feel so passionate about it. I wanted people to love themselves.
Mm.
Like that's what I wanted to take on.
And what really grabbed my attention was before you started sharing that, you said mindset, my mindset is steel.
Mhm.
So I wonder how that, if there's a connection between having a mindset that is steel
Mhm.
and how that relates to this mindset you noticed in other women.
Mhm.
And is there a connection? Is there not? I'm curious about that. And what do you mean by mindset of steel?
I guess just in putting being put through college sports, I had to do so many things that were out of my comfort zone, like push my body in ways
Mm,
that I can't even believe I did. I'm sure you can relate to this.
I can.
Getting up at 5 in the morning, practicing for 2 hours at soccer, getting screamed at, going to class all day, having to keep my grades up, leaving class, changing, doing 2 hours of lifting, and then an hour of running after, having to make times, lift as hard as I was doing all that stuff I was putting on my body. So I feel like my mindset, I've done hard things, but I don't always have to do hard things.
Hmm.
So I think yoga and sports gives me that yin and yang balance where I like that part of me that can dig deep and really push myself, but I also like surrendering and that mix.
Right. And I wonder if the mantra or the mindset, if there's a difference, I don't know, they might
Mhm.
be the same, of I can do hard things
Mhm.
relates to believing that you're allowed to be a certain way in your body, look a certain way, move your body in a certain
Mhm.
way. And it might be hard to do that
Mhm.
because culture says, no, you have to look this way, or no, you have to move your body this way. And so to
Mhm.
do something that is in alignment with your truth might mean you're doing something countercultural. And
Right.
that can be really hard. And
Yes.
so to have this mindset of steel that I can do hard things, meaning I can eat this, move in this way, not move in this way, color my hair in this way, while other people might think it's stupid, ugly, not good enough,
Mhm.
too much, that doing what's in alignment with your value system
Mhm.
is hard. And
Yes.
having this mindset of I can do these hard things is important.
Mhm.
Is that a connection that is
Yes.
fair?
Yes.
Okay, so here you are, you're a yoga teacher, you're now encountering these women who have this mindset, you're connecting to it. And so you're, because I've taken many of your body love classes and you've come to our retreats because I value collaboration with powerful people like yourself
Thank
who
you.
do amazing things in life and have a mindset of steel.
Mhm.
It's not a typical yoga class. So
Definitely
how
not.
did you go from I like teaching yoga to I'm creating, because this is another theme I'm noticing
Mhm.
we both share, which is a value of being a
Yes.
creator. How did you come to create Body Love?
So I guess when I got into the yoga space, I just really took myself to tons of different classes. Like, okay, we're going to move differently now. So let's just move differently in all the ways. I took power flow classes, deep stretch, some classes that involved dancing. And I guess Body Love was just a culmination of everything I loved. So there are hit aspects like high intensity training, which every movement in my class has a purpose. So if I'm moving your body in fast ways, we are raising our heart rate, oxygenating the blood,
Mm,
we're strengthening the muscles. And then I'll kind of take you through like what my class looks like from start to finish.
please, because people
So
might be listening or watching and
yeah.
wondering, what the hell does this look like?
Right. So yeah, it's definitely a fusion of hit. It has dance elements or freeing movements, and then it has yoga, it has deep stretches, and definitely a soulful connection to yourself.
Hmm.
So if you come into my class, whether it's a big glow rave event, I would say a lot of people know my class from that now. Um, but I teach Body Love Yoga regularly on Sundays in Huntersville as well, just in a dance studio that I rent. But From start to finish, we start with a warm up. We move our body up and down in different yoga poses, different exercises, and then there's lots of Kundalini movements, free
Mm.
movement. So Kundalini, where we're circling our hips in different yoga poses,
Oh, yeah.
and the
We do a
purpose
lot
of
of that.
the purpose of that is, you're balancing that masculine and feminine energy within your body. You are removing and stirring up that trauma that is maybe stored in your hips or
Mm.
certain parts of your body. So some somatic work. Um, and then we end once our body is super warm and super free. We end with some deep stretches and some shavasana. And I try to leave everyone with my purpose of the class, which is for people to love themselves in their mind, in their body, in their soul, and just really just not give a shit what anyone thinks.
Mm.
Like, you are enough as you are right here, right now. If you didn't change one other thing about yourself, you're enough.
And
So that's how I want them to
that's it.
feel when they leave.
That's
Like,
it.
I'm moving like this, and I'll say things, I can't even believe you gave me a microphone right now because I say the most random things when I have my microphone when I'm teaching. But I'll say things like, seriously, no one cares but you right now. Like, oh, do I look stupid? Am I doing this right? Am I, you know, doing the pose correctly? Like, I want you to do the pose correctly so you don't hurt yourself. I want you to listen to your body, but no one cares. Like, just let yourself be free. How
Mm.
do you want to move? I'm guiding you through this practice, but I want you to get out of it whatever you would like.
And
So, what do
that
you need?
that is why I value you so much, because if it's true that these beliefs of I am not enough, I am not good enough, I can't move in this way, someone's going to think I look stupid, then it's going to mean that I'm definitely not enough because she's laughing at how I'm moving or my hair
Right.
is colored a certain way, and then this person is going to abandon me. What I have found, these two deep-seated beliefs that somehow have been embedded into our DNA of you are not enough. And when someone figures out you're not enough, they're going to abandon you. And it's bullshit. And your class is a revolutionary practice to assist people in and invite people to get out of this mindset
Yeah.
and get into the mindset of steel, which is I can do this. I can do hard shit. I can do that. I can do that. I don't have to do that. This is the path of
Yeah.
liberation. When people talk about what is it, why is it called men's sacred liberation? It's an invitation for men to experience for themselves what it feels like
Mhm.
and is like to be liberated, oftentimes from this belief that's stuck in their body. And what really caught me was we've even been seeing in recent research about trauma,
Yes.
and trauma specifically can get stuck in the hips.
Mhm.
And so gyrating your hips and moving your hips in a certain way,
Mhm.
particularly in your classes, can move this stuck traumatic energy
Mhm.
and move it in ways that help us to better
Shake out the lymph
shake it out,
nodes,
yes, and
get rid of
integrate
it.
all of
Yes.
this that
Mhm.
we've taken on, learned, come to believe, and
Yes.
integrate it into something that is this new version of who we are. It doesn't
Yes.
go away. We get to reintegrate into this
Mhm.
new version of us. And that's how I felt when I left your class. And I thought, you've got to come to a retreat. You have to come to a retreat and share this gift with us.
And I was gonna ask you, just in hearing you speak right now, I talked about how women have this thing in that they need to be perfect, their body, how they look, how they carry themselves, their hair. But I think men are also held to a standard of like, I need to be tough. I can't show my emotions. And that's what I love about what you do is that you liberate men to be like, who freaking cares if I
Hmm.
cry? Cuz a lot of men in my generation, it was like, "Don't cry, you're fine. Get up. We're not doing that. Like, you're strong, you're tough, you're a man." And that's what I love that you just break that down. And we've had many conversations about some of the exercises that you do with the men that are really honestly, you've said to me, sometimes simple, but
Mhm.
it has serious breakthroughs for them just to move in ways that are, feel good to them or, liberate them. So in
Sure.
my case, it might be moving your body in ways you've never moved it before, and it might feel a little awkward, it might feel a little funny. Sometimes you laugh, sometimes you cry, you don't know how to feel, but in your case, I feel like you're doing something similar through all of the exercises that you do in men's liberation and the people you bring on through your team to
Mhm.
really help these men to be the best version of themselves.
For sure.
Yeah.
And to make the connection of why the 2 of us here, why the 2 of us coming to each other's events, collaborating, invite each other to participate, it's not about gender. It's about
It's
all
not.
of us being human, and we've
Right.
all experienced these traumas and these self-limiting mindsets that have gotten in the way of living the fullest expression of who we are. It does not matter about gender. And so, yes, men tend to come to these retreats because we are targeting them. And I've been to your events and there's women everywhere. And so we're trying to bridge the gap and bring people
Yes.
together because I think it's
Yes.
ultimately about community.
Yes.
It's community. And your events and my events attract maybe a certain person,
Mhm.
but it's time to bring everybody together.
Exactly.
And you have a magnetic aura about you in Charlotte, and people are drawn to that and they feel safe to move their bodies. I think this is the powerful message about you is
Thank
that
you.
when I've been to when I went to your last event, there were hundreds of people there. Why? Because of you holding the
Thank
space
you.
and drawing in people who know I can move my body in this way in front of Rachel. She's helping to hold this container. That's a powerful gift you have.
Thank you so much. And I feel like everything that you do with men's liberation and your community, like ice baths that you do, and I know you teach yoga classes on the rooftop on Fridays. Isn't it once a month?
Once a
Yeah.
month at the Dowd.
I mean, you're bringing 100 people up there too, and it's your energy. It's you make me feel safe. Honestly, to sit in front of this camera, I'm like, oh,
Mm,
I was a little nervous, but to sit here with you, your energy, your presence, the way you give me that eye
mhm,
contact, um, you make me feel safe. And I've seen your community events where everyone that goes, I see tears in their eyes just from them releasing. I see joy. I see laughing. I see crying. I see every emotion that they're releasing that they need because everything that you do is so powerful. And the way you bring people in your circle and make them feel safe before an event starts or a retreat starts, they are allowed to be themselves. They're allowed to be free. They get from your events whatever they need. And I love that.
and I wanna say that I know I mentioned safe.
Hmm.
Beyond safe, because I realize not everyone will feel safe at a retreat. Not everyone will feel safe at a
Yes.
body love event. They might walk in and wonder, will I be laughed at? Will I be
Hmm.
rejected? Will someone say I look stupid? And that might not make someone feel safe. The decision to show up anyway is courage.
Right.
I've always used the word or the term, the men's sacred liberation retreats are a courageous space. I can't guarantee safety. I can guarantee that this is a space where you can show up and be courageous and try something that might be out of your comfort zone. You might be laughed at. I hope not. And showing up anyway, knowing that you are willing to get outside of your
Hmm.
comfort zone is really fucking courageous.
Yes.
And we need more opportunities for people to come together to be courageous in these ways of challenging old mindsets and
Hmm.
paradigms, like you're saying, shifting out of old paradigms around how men should be, how women should be. They can't be this, men can only be this.
Hmm.
And this is the movement that I see happening in Charlotte with the 2 of us, which is why I want to keep partnering together because
Exactly.
bringing everyone together in community is what ultimately we both value, and we get to figure out what's the new community paradigm look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Whoa, 150 people, 200 people painted in paint and hair colors and all the things. Like, tell everybody about the most recent event you did, because not
Yeah.
every Huntersville class, I think, is the same. What's special about these larger events you're holding and the
Yes.
Glow Rave?
So I lived in Charlotte for 8 years. I now live in the Lake Norman, Huntersville area. So I hold my regular classes out there, but I still come into Charlotte quite often. I've done some things at Mus- Music Yard for the Move Wellness space. I have rented out spaces in Charlotte. My most recent one in May, I think it was May 17th. It was at Pine 828, which
Right?
is a brand new space
I
um,
was there.
in Noda,
Incredible.
Charlotte. You were there with Men's Liberation right up front. Um, and so people see, and I struggle with this on social media of what I'm posting because I don't always want it to scare people off. It may attract some people, but sometimes if you see people moving in ways that they do in my class, they might be
Mm,
like, oh, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. And to be honest with you, Brian, if you told me 10 years ago that I was going to be teaching this class, I would be like, no, I'm not.
mm.
Like, what?
Wow.
Um, so I struggle with showing people what's going on because I feel like those are the people that need it the most. Those are the people that when they come, they're like, holy shit, I've never needed a class more in my life because they need to liberate themselves and just not care. Um, but so we start off my events like the big Body Love Yoga Glow Rave with body paint. We do black light. The whole class is black lighted. Everything is dark. So I think that also brings a fun element and a safe space. Like you don't have these bright neon
Mm,
lights that maybe you have on you when you're working out at a gym. It's like, okay, the lighting feels good. It's a fun environment. You got the black lights. You're activating your inner child
mm.
by who cares? Paint your body, add some gems to your forehead, color your hair, whatever you want to do. So you're getting into this space of activating your inner child before we start the class. And then I begin class with just having people set an intention. And like I said, I kind of went through what the whole class looks like
Right.
and just coming together as a community, activating our inner child, moving in ways that maybe we never would. And I usually have local vendors there that are in the wellness space, like yourself. You were there
Right.
last time.
I
Right
was,
up front, Men's Liberation.
for
And
sure.
I just want to tell you, my favorite thing when you come to my class is how you just like release and scream. We know you
Mm,
do this a lot
uh-huh.
in your events.
Love making sounds.
I love the sounds that come out of you when you take my class or really
It's
just do any event. It's great.
it's so freeing. It's
It's
liberating to
freeing
make
and
sounds in
liberating.
public.
And invite other people to be able to do that too. Like, who
Yeah.
cares? This guy is yelling whatever he wants up here and having a good time. And, I really love
And
that.
you create the invitation to do it.
hmm
And yeah, what you're saying is so spot on related to the inner child work. That's exactly what this is. And
hmm
people ask me why go to YMCA Camp Thunderbird for the retreats. It's to invite in every man's little
Yep.
boy that either didn't get to go to a camp when he was young or did and wants to go back there because you
hmm
you grow up and you stop having fun. You
Yeah.
said something earlier about playful or fun. The word caught my attention about, yeah, being in your space
hmm
at Pine.
hmm
What was it? Pine?
Yeah. Pine 828 is their
The
Instagram, but I
venue.
think they just
Being
go by Pine.
being
Yeah.
there and being invited to paint my body with glow in the dark paint and put on decals on my face. I mean, it brings me back to when my little sister would paint my face and I would go to her birthday parties and I would want to do
Yeah.
those things as a little boy, but I wouldn't do it unless my sister invited me. And even then, I thought it was weird or stupid or maybe childish, or I was doing it just to entertain her. But was there somewhere inside of me that really enjoyed doing that just because it was fun and I got to express myself and create something different about
hmm
how I showed up in my body? And
hmm
now this is an invitation for grown adults to come together in community to
hmm
share in this experience of painting our bodies and putting the decals on and moving our bodies in different ways, men and women. And it's such a beautiful gift that you invite into this community in Charlotte. And making sounds and doing all of these expressions. It's not just inner child work, it's traumatic release. It's
Yes.
releasing the stuck energy and
Mhm.
again moving it in ways where we can then integrate in everything that we're learning and show up in the world more often,
Mhm.
entertaining and holding space for our inner child and showing up in different ways that aren't honoring these self-limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves. And doing it in community,
Mhm.
I think, is the most powerful way to be in this practice, which is why I want to close with this now what? So I lead retreats, you lead these events. We've come together,
Mhm.
we've brought these communities together. And I know that the next step, I know I value this, is we've invited people to be embodied. We've invited people to connect with their inner child. Now
Yes.
what? We have to go out into the world and be in this different way,
Mhm.
primarily in relationship with each other.
Yes.
I think that's the 2.0 to this is now how do we integrate what we experienced in a class or a retreat and go out into the world and be embodied in this new way and be able to walk up to someone and make eye contact and say, "Hi, my name is Brian. I see you're reading this book I've read before. Can I sit down and have a conversation with you about it?
Right.
Wow, I think you're really attractive and I'm done with Bumble and Hinge. Can I have your number and get
Yeah.
to know you more?" Whatever it is, let this be a new way that
Yeah.
we be
Take
in
this
relationship with each other.
take the safe space with you all the time. I always say at the end of my classes, and I know your retreats, people feel so safe with you. You can feel like this anytime you want.
Yes.
Like, do you notice how you feel after you've done this in a
Oh, wow.
in a
Yes.
community full of people just not giving a shit, like moving the way they want to move, activating their inner child, doing something new, being in a community with people you might not know. Just come, even if you don't know anybody. You might meet your best friend. You might, and you can feel the way you feel in our environments at work, in your
Yes.
neighborhood, when you're traveling. You can feel like this all the time. Notice how you feel.
Mhm.
Take it with you.
Mhm.
I often like to end with something positive when I'm teaching. I really love positive affirmations, and having my class say them either to themselves or out loud, or in your case, scream them.
That's it.
So I will say that at the end of class, I hope something I'm saying resonates with you. And if you want to yell it out loud, if you want to say it to yourself, listen quietly, whatever feels you most makes you feel most comfortable. But I want you to feel good. I want you to know that you're enough as you are if you didn't change one thing today. So, and can I be invited to Men's Liberation November?
That's a great plug for our next retreat in November, November 1st through the 3rd.
Hmm.
In case you're wondering if you're listening or watching, the next Men's Sacred Liberation weekend retreat is November 1st through the 3rd
Hmm.
at YMCA Camp Thunderbird on Lake Wiley in South Carolina. We still have space available, so we'll have the link at the end of our show today. We'll have all of Rachel's information,
Hmm.
and maybe we can
Yeah.
entice a few more men to join, knowing that
Yeah.
there is a possibility you might be at this next retreat for another
I'm
opportunity.
manifesting
You are.
it.
You're using your voice, which I think is really
Yes.
powerful. I mean, you're being playful, and there's also great power in you putting words to that. And how
Mhm.
many times, Rachel, have you or me or anyone listening thought, I want that. I want to ask her number. I want to go to that event. I want to co-lead that event. I want to partner with Rachel. I want to get that job promotion. And the mindset, no, you can't. You're not enough. You're not good enough, gets in the way of you manifesting your truth. And manifesting is visualizing what you want, feeling what you want, vocalizing what you want, but you can do that in your room. You've got to take action and move in the direction. It's
Mhm.
action, it's embodied movement towards what you want.
Yes.
Showing up today, looking me in the eye, and asking to be a part of that
Mhm.
is the last and the most important piece of you could sit in your room and think about it and see it and talk about it. And I'm going to ask Brian, but if you don't do it, it's how am I going to know? This is the power of the work we're doing and
Yes.
bringing people together to experience it together.
So beautiful.
So I'm excited about all the ways we're going to continue to create space for people. I'm excited about the conversations we've had about, okay, we have a body love. And then afterwards, and you started this at the last one, we're having a social gathering where people can stay and feel comfortable to be in their bodies and be in relationship with people in this way right there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's dancing together, talking together, getting to know each other, this is what we're moving towards.
Yes.
It's not just an isolated event. It's a way of being human that I think you and I are spearheading in our city of Charlotte. So we'll close on that note. And what I thought we could do is show people and practice ourselves, because this is really a practice. You can paint your body and gyrate your hips and move in those ways in your house. You don't have to wait for your next event. Same with my retreats. I tell the men, when you leave here, the practice really begins. You take everything we did and you put it into practice in your life. So one thing I do in yoga classes, which we did at the rooftop on the Dowd YMCA, and I'll do this again whenever I go to the Whitewater Center and even in my classes at the Dowd every Friday, we take a big deep breath in the nose, which can help stimulate our nervous system, especially the vagus nerve. I talked about this morning with a group of men. And when we breathe out, we actually make a facial expression with our faces. So we move our body, which is our facial expressions. Because how many times do we do face yoga? And we say a sound out the mouth. So we generate some vibration in our chest, really throughout our body. So in just a moment, we'll look at the camera and we'll close on this note. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Rachel, for being here. And we're going to leave you with a practice. So if you take nothing else from our time today, we want you to leave with this one practice, which is, in just a moment, we're going to breathe in the nose. And actually, I want you to do it together with us. And when we breathe out, we're going to say, wow. But I want you to over-exaggerate this, like really over-exaggerate it. So I'll demonstrate, because sometimes we need demonstrations as teachers. We need to show
I'm a
students.
visual
Yeah, you need to
learner.
see it. So I'll breathe in the nose. Wow.
Wow, that's
Right?
a lot of pressure to do it that well.
Well, get into the steel mindset of there's no wrong way to do it. You're going to do it your way.
All right, let's do it together.
And I want to give credit to a dear friend and yogi in town, Alice Sace, who was the first teacher to invite me to do this. So I'm not taking credit for this. She did it at a class, teaching a class at the Dowd. And when she did it, it liberated me. It was an invitation in that space. She held the space for the rest of us, or me, I don't know about anybody else, to be in my body in this way.
Yeah.
So I give all the credit to Alice Sace, who teaches with me at the Dowd, this practice. Okay, here we go. So we're sitting up nice and tall. And I'll count down in 3, 2, 1. Big breath in. Wow! Thank you, Rachel.
You're the best. Can I have a hug?